let's begin. We will come down onto the ground, onto the floor, but you might just start seated or even standing. Just taking a few moments here at the beginning to be in an upright position, seated or standing. And I invite you to just take your hands and just rest them on your head. You might kind of give a little squeeze to your head. I have been noticing for myself lots of thinking energy, lots of mental energy this last week or so. So just giving a little kind of squeeze to your head. You might even just give a little thank you. Thank you, brain, for working so hard. Thank you to my mind for all that you do. And then if you're wearing glasses, you might want to take them off. And then take your hands and just rub them together. So create a little bit of heat, a little friction. And then when you feel ready, take the heel of your hands, your palms, and rest them over your eyes really lightly. There may even be just this sense of relief, the darkness and the warmth of this gentle energy given to your eyes, your forehead. You might take a slow breath here. And then just very lightly begin to kind of brush, maybe brush your forehead, kind of smoothing out the tension that might be accumulated in your forehead. You might brush down through your eyes and your cheeks, your temples, and your nose, kind of like you're giving yourself a little facial. And you could take your hands to the top of your head and just kind of brush down. And just imagine as you're doing this brushing action that you're just taking all of that mental energy, that swirl of thinking, and kind of bringing it down, smoothing it out. You can bring your brushing action down into your neck and your throat, and then easily, gently down into your shoulders, your chest, your upper back if you can reach it. Maybe brushing down your arms all the way to your hands. Just a kind of light brushing. You can decide the kind of the pressure. You might like a little more pressure. You might like a little kind of softer, lighter touch, maybe even just barely touching the skin. Then maybe brushing down from the chest, down into the belly, your ribs, your lower back, your hips, and starting to brush down your legs. And all the way to one foot. You can kind of think of like sweeping the energy out through your toes. And make sure to get both legs. It's this brushing down. It's brushing out through the tips of your toes. You might give your feet a little squeeze here. This place where we connect to the ground, connect to the earth as we stand and walk. And you might give yourself another little shift or movement or shoulder roll, and feeling yourself a little more inhabited in your body. And you are welcome to start seated if you would like to, or come down onto your back and just find a comfortable position to start in. And I'm going to start with reading a short poem. And again, this is about this kind of mental energy, the mental swirl that we can get really caught up in. And how just being present can help us to kind of inhabit our senses a little bit more. This is called Thinking by Danusha Lamaris. Don't you wish they would stop? all the thoughts swirling around in your head, bees in a hive, dancers tapping their way across the stage. I should rake the leaves in the carport, buy Christmas lights. Is there really life on Mars? What will I cook for dinner? I walk up the driveway, put out the garbage bins. I should stop using plastic bags. Visit my friend whose husband just left her for the Swedish nanny. I wish I hadn't said Patrick's painting looked ominous. Maybe that's why he hasn't called. Does the car need oil again? There's a hole in the ozone the size of Texas, and everything seems to be speeding up. Come, let's stand by the window and look at the light on the field. Let's watch how the clouds cover the sun and almost nothing stirs in the grass. So in our practice today, I'll invite you to keep moving your energy out of your thinking mind, out of the busyness in our head, and down into our senses. And we can encourage all of our senses in our practice. The sense of touch, where we're in contact with the ground, the sense of the sensory experience of inside our own body. Might even tune into our senses, our sense of sight. So even having your eyes open and taking in what's around you as you practice. Sometimes that's helpful, sometimes it's not. Sense of hearing, being present to what we take in through our ears, the different sounds and vibrations. And the sensing of our breath. And in particular, inviting again and again to make contact with the ground beneath us, make contact with the earth. So you might just start by feeling those points of contact, maybe your feet or your hips, your back. If you're not lying down, come down into a reclined position. And start to bend your knees if they're extended long, if your legs are extended long, and bring your feet to the ground. And I'm going to even take off my socks so I can get a better sense my feet on the floor. You might walk your feet a few times. Notice your nerve endings. Notice the places where your feet are really touching the ground, the balls of your toes, your heel, the ball of your foot. And arms can rest down by your sides. And also you might spread your fingers wide and have this sense of making contact firmly with the ground. And feeling the ground beneath you, this sense of yielding or softening to it, giving in to the weight of gravity. We'll start to really root down, feeling our feet and our arms, our shoulders, really firmly connected to the ground, and then start to lift your hips. So you could tuck your tail and start to lift up just a little bit, feeling again the sense of rooting down to rise up, and then slowly coming down. You can roll down through your lower back, your hips. And then again, this feeling, this sensing of rooting and pressing down to feel this light lifting. And it doesn't have to be high. You could come just a little bit up and then lower down. You might find as you do this a few times, it feels good to rise up a little bit higher. And you could coordinate that movement with your breath, if that feels good. Inhaling as you rise, exhaling as you lower, or you could just allow the breath to flow freely in whatever way it feels natural and good to you right now. Maybe one or two more times, just this lifting, rising, rooting down, feeling the floor beneath you, feeling the ground, and then lowering. And then one last time, rising up and rolling down. Good. And then once you come all the way down, hug your knees in. Just give your knees a little squeeze. You can wrap your arms around your legs. You might rock a little bit. Really feel this place of contact. Lower back with the ground beneath you. And you could take your hands to your kneecaps, fingertips pointing towards your toes. As you inhale, lengthen your arms. So straighten your elbows, knees press forward. And then exhale, bend your elbows, soften your knees in, maybe knees widen a bit as they come closer to your body. Then inhaling, extending, reaching forward. And then exhale, softening as you exhale and draw the knees in. Feel a little more of your back in contact with the floor. Breathing in, easy length, and then breathing out, softening in. Soft belly. You take that a few more times on your own. You might, as you're starting to move slowly and mindfully, you might notice certain areas of your body that are holding on to tension or gripping. Maybe you notice that busyness in your mind, thinking mind. Can we invite a little softening, softening in the head, the forehead, the face, any areas where you notice an accumulation of tension? Much of the time we're walking around in our lives unaware of the tension that we carry. And then go ahead and releasing your feet down. You take a big full body stretch. So just reach long. Take a big breath in and then exhale. Hug everything in. Knees can come in, arms can wrap around. If it feels comfortable for your neck, you could lift your head. I'm going to take my hands to the back of my head so my neck feels supported. And then stretching long, reaching out, fingers, toes. Big breath in and a breath out. Maybe one more if you'd like. And then gently releasing, feet back down to the ground, arms down. Take a moment to pause right here. And then rolling over to one side. And we'll start to come up to a hands and knees position. You're welcome to pad your knees. And here, lining up hands under shoulders or a little forward, knees under hips. And I'll remind, as I usually do, if hands and knees is not a great position for you because of knees or wrists, you could be in a seated position and just translate the movements to a seated position. Another option, if wrists are bothersome, you could always take blocks or a little stool and place your forearms on that and do the same movements from this position. So that's an option if wrists are tender for you. So here, staying right here in this neutral spine. Take a couple of deep breaths. As you inhale, Feel a sense of lengthening from head to tail. Feel your rib cage expanding. And then as you exhale, just nice and easy, soften your forehead down towards the ground, elbows soften, chest and belly towards your thighs. If you're in a seated position, you'll come into a gentle forward fold. Then inhale, rising up, expanding, lengthening your spine, widening your rib cage. Exhale and soften. Keep going, allowing yourself to breathe in and out of this. And start to pay particular attention to the places of contact that you have with the ground beneath you. So as you feel the contact of the ground under your hands, your shins, tops of your feet, feel yourself each time you kind of settle back, feel this real softening into the ground. And then from that place of real connection to the earth beneath you, that's where you'll press off and reach long. And then here from hands and knees, you'll feel your hands root down. You might even press slightly back with your hands. So just keep coming back to that place of contact, of yielding into the earth, softening into the ground. And that's where we find our movement from. That sense of connection to the ground allows us to press off of it and reach and lengthen. You might begin to add a little bit of movement of your spine. So as you come up, maybe your head and your tail lift, coming into a cow stretch as you exhale, rounding your spine and gently shifting back. So if that feels like a good addition to you, include it. If it doesn't, you can let it go. And then next time you rise up, pause for a moment, find a neutral spine. If you have something under your knees, move it aside. We're going to come down onto our belly. So ease yourself down onto the ground and take a moment. Once you get there, you might shift side to side. Just feel the contact of the front of your body with the ground, tops of your feet, your thighs, the front of your hips, maybe that top portion of your thigh bones rooting down, belly and ribs, chest. Hands can be moved under your shoulders or a little lower. Roll your shoulders back. Feel this sense of grounding, and then reach through the crown of your head and feel yourself rising up, pressing away from the earth, low cobra. Exhale, come down. You can soften. You might turn your head to the side or forehead down. Then inhale, reaching and lengthening. Exhale, coming down. A couple more times. Now here, we'll add on to this movement a little bit as you inhale, reaching up, low cobra, root down through your hands and your knees. We'll press up and then reach through the tailbone back into child's pose. So inhale, rise up. Here, let your hips gently come forward, softening down towards the ground, trying to roll down through the front of your body. Feel the hands and feet and belly rooting down. Inhale, lengthen forward and up, press up. Engage the core, belly muscles draw in and softening back. So if this sequence doesn't feel great for you for any reason, maybe it's tender for lower back, maybe stick with the low cobra, or you could Come back to that first movement that we did, table pose to child's, table child's. Keep bringing yourself back to this sense of grounding and moving from that place of groundedness. Maybe last time through, inhale and exhale back. And just pause back in child's pose or wherever you feel most comfortable. And then rise up, hands and knees. Again, if you need, you're welcome to place a little padding underneath you. Reach your right leg back, touch your toes to the ground, and press lightly back into your heel. Just give a little waking up of your calf and ankle. And then rock forward to the tips of your toes. Reach forward through the crown of your head, and then exhale, gently press back. So just coming in and out of that, easing forward and then pressing back. And then one of these times, we'll press back and stay, just pausing, lengthening calf and ankle, sole of the foot. And then rock forward to the tips of your toes. You can lift your right leg up and maybe just give your right ankle a few circles each direction. And then releasing right knee down. Maybe a little shift side to side. If you need to, you can come off of your wrists and give a few circles or a shake out. And then back to hands and knees. Take your left leg back, touch your toes to the ground and press back into your heel. And rock forward to the tips of your toes and press back. Do this a couple more times. And then next time you press back, stay. And then rock to the tips of your toes, lift your left leg up and circle it a few times, each direction. And then releasing your knee down. Take a moment, maybe a shifting of your hips side to side, maybe an unweighting of your hands, shaking it out. And then we're going to step one foot forward and come into a lunge. You may want to have, if you have blocks, you may want to use blocks under your hands, or maybe you have a stool. Here's another option. You can do this with blocks or just by walking your hands over to the left and then stepping right foot through. Just gives more space for that foot to step through, and then walking hands back to center. Again, patting your knee, your back knee if you need. And then we'll walk our hands up to our front thigh. Just find a center here. Find a place where you feel stable, of reconnecting with the parts of your body that are in contact with the ground. So that right foot, sole of the right foot, maybe left toes are tucked, maybe they're untucked. You can try both and see what feels better for you. And then just an easing of your hips forward and back a few times. And easing into this opening of the front of your left hip. This area it always feels good to open this area for me and get tight. And then you can stay just like this easing of the hips forward and back. You can also start to include some movement of the arms. So arms coming up as you reach the hips forward and then shifting back, releasing. And as you move through this, see if you can have this sense of the ground beneath you and this sense of reaching and lifting away from it and then shifting back. Just letting there be lots of breath in this movement. This next time you come forward, stay. So maybe the arms are up, maybe the hands are on the thigh. You feel a little lifting of your sternum. And then exhale, softening. To come out of this, you might walk your hands to the left or your blocks, and then slide the right knee back. Other side. So you can move your hands to the right to step the left foot through if that's helpful, or the foot can step through between the hands and walking hands up to front thigh. And just take a moment, find your ground. So feeling left foot on the ground, the right knee, maybe figure out what feels like a better option for you with the back foot. And then just start to ease hips forward and back. I'm looking out a window here and feel very excited to see little tiny buds growing on a bush out there. Spring is coming. So here you can let your hips slide forward and back. You're welcome to keep your hands where they are. You can also include this movement of your arms sweeping and then coming back. This sense of grounding, and from that ground, reaching and lengthening, and then easing back. Finding your breath, that connection to your breath and your movement. And this next time you might come up and stay, pause. Can you feel that sense of softening and settling? Maybe even that exhale creates this sense of softening into the ground. The inhale creating a sense of uplift, an expansion, reach. Exhale, come down. Maybe your hands walk to the right to slide your left knee back. And then from here, let's sit back into child's pose. Maybe your hands support your head. And here is a good place where you could kind of give a little massage to your forehead, either rocking your head on your hands or on the ground. Again, reminding ourselves to let our thinking mind soften. Thank it for all the hard work that it does. Reminds us to pay our bills and call our friends and keeps us on a schedule, reminds us to go to yoga class. And then just letting that soften, knowing that right here we can just connect into our sensory experience a bit more. Maybe feeling and sensing what's happening in our body, ground beneath us. Perhaps aware of any sounds that you might notice. And then rising up, and we'll step one foot forward and then the other to come to a forward fold. And take a moment here, let your knees be really soft. So arms could be dangled down towards the floor, the chest and the belly close to the thighs. Another option could be hands resting on something, maybe blocks or your legs, maybe your elbows resting on thighs. And you might find a little bit of movement here with your feet, of a shifting, a wiggling of your toes, kind of again, that sensory waking up of nerve endings, feeling the floor beneath you, feeling the ground beneath you. Maybe you even drop down into a little squat and then straighten. So bending and straightening a few times if that feels good. If that doesn't feel good, that deep knee bend, maybe sit back just a little bit and then lengthen. And then starting to come up, we'll lift halfway up and just reach forward through the crown of our head. Hands could start to walk up the legs and reach up. Take that slowly, no rush. And then here you can just take a moment to roll your shoulders back and down a few times. My sun coming in through my windows. It feels like a very promising day. And then take your arms and just sweep them forward and back. Let your joints be soft. So knees, hips, and ankles, just nice and soft, feeling the ground beneath your feet. You can let the arms come up a little higher and maybe even just find a little pause at the top and then a sweep down. Beginning to raise our energy a bit. Get a little energy and blood flow moving. And then slow that down. And then let it release. You could shake it out, shake out your arms and your legs. And we'll just flow a little bit, create a little bit of flow in the body. So inhale, sweeping arms up, and then exhale, softening forward. Lift halfway up. Inhale, hands could rest on the knees or the shins. Exhale, soften forward, sweep out and up. And then let your arms just lightly float down. Soften your shoulders, your chest, your sternum, your throat. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale to dive. Lifting halfway. Exhale, fold, sweep out and up. And let arms float down. Again, inhale. And exhale, dive. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, fold, sweep out and up. And exhale. So slight change. We'll continue to float, but a little bit different. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, sit back like you're sitting into a chair. Really feel the ground beneath you. Push down into the earth to rise up. And then exhale, soften arms. Inhale. Exhale, sitting back. Push down into the earth to rise up. Inhale. Exhale, arms float down. One more. Inhale. Exhale, sit back. Push down to rise up. Exhale, soften. And from here, you're going to feel this reaching forward and up. We'll take this a little slower than that arm swing. And then exhale, arms soften down, a little softening in the joints. Inhale, reaching, and exhale, softening. Now we'll begin to shift our weight. Inhale, weight comes into the right leg, left toes just barely touching the ground. Exhale, back to 2 feet. Inhale, shift to the left foot, right toes on the ground. And then exhale. Inhale. And exhale. So just going side to side. And you can keep this movement going just like this. Toes can stay on the ground. Or you might also find that lifting up a bit feels good to you, finding a little momentary balance. You can always back up, keep both feet on the ground. You can always keep your toes down. And the next time your left leg lifts, see if you can pause. So maybe toes are on the ground, maybe the leg rises up. Maybe it's helpful to even move to a spot with where you can rest your hand on something, a wall or a chair. Just take a moment there. And then exhale that down, go the other side. So inhale, right leg lifts, reaching up. Maybe the toes stay on the ground the whole time. Maybe the leg is lifted. Maybe you're resting a hand on something to help stabilize. And then coming down again, shift to the other side again, right leg, left leg rises. And here, you might take your hands or one hand to your left knee, keep that energy, that line of energy going up, that line of energy going down into the earth. And then releasing that other side last time. And then here you could take one or both hands to your right knee. So just remember, you can always use the wall or a chair as a prop to assist you. And then gently releasing that down and just giving it a shake out. And then here, let's come towards the front of our mat. And here, I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you do have yoga blocks, have them handy. If you have a chair or a stool instead, have that towards the front of your mat. So just take a moment to set that up. Here, we'll inhale and sweep arms up. And then exhale, hands come down to your props. So blocks, chair, stool. We're going to shift our weight into our right foot and step left leg back. So here, we'll keep our back knee lifted. Pause. Feel a sense of kind of uplift through the belly and the chest, reaching long through the crown of your head. And then as we begin to move a little bit as we do this, you may find that having the back knee down feels like a better option for you. So you're welcome to choose that. So here, walking hands up to your front thigh, feeling the ground beneath you. Maybe there's even just a little shifting or a wiggling of your toes, reminding you to kind of anchor down, sense your feet. And then inhale, take arms forward and up. As you exhale, we'll press palms down, feel hips rising up, we're pushing away from the floor. Inhale, settling into the ground, front knee bends. Exhale, pressing down, pushing up away from the earth. Inhale. And exhale, press. One more time, come up, pause. So feeling both that sense of grounding through the feet, but also that sense of energy and uplift through the body. And then exhale, release. Step forward, soften. Lift halfway up again. Fingertips can rest on blocks or chair or stool. Step right foot back. Pause here for a moment. Staying in this kind of forward position, but at the same time, there's this sense of energy and lift. So notice if that energy is sinking down into your hips, belly on the thigh. Can you create a little bit of lift under the body? Almost imagining one of those big yoga balls underneath your front thigh, creating a little buoyancy, maybe a little wiggling of your toes here. And then again, you can choose back knee down. Walk your hands up to your front thigh. Take arms forward and up, inhale. And then exhale, press down to let your hips rise. Inhale, arms come up. Feel this settling into the ground. Exhale, pressing down to reach away. Inhale. This next time, reach forward and up and pause. And then releasing and stepping forward. Fold. Sweep up to stand. Inhale, rise up. Exhale. Hands can come right down to heart center. Just taking a moment to pause and notice. Maybe your eyes are open and you take in visually what's around you. This simple action of paying attention, helping us to soften the thinking mind. And so one more standing sequence that we'll do. You can stay right where you are, blocks handy or other props handy. Inhale, sweep arms up, exhale, dive forward. Again, we'll step left leg back, long lunge. And here, we're gonna move our props forward, maybe 6 or 8 inches. So I'm gonna take my blocks forward. You might slide your chair forward so that you can begin to push forward and take your weight into your right leg. You can kind of tiptoe the left foot in a little bit. Try to lift your chest so we're not sinking down, but this sense of, again, rooting down to rise up. And you may find that keeping your toes on the ground feels best. You're still building strength in the standing leg and the right leg. You might start to play with lifting your left leg. Back toes can point down towards the ground. You can always back up and bring your toes back down to the floor. You might play with taking a little more balance. Maybe it's just your fingertips on the blocks or on the prop. Maybe one hand in front of your heart, maybe two. Maybe coming back to the blocks. Any other options you want to take here are fine. Feeling the steadiness and the strength of the standing leg rooting down into the earth. And then we'll start to bring left toes back down to the ground if they're not. And we can step forward, hop that foot forward and soften. Inhale, lifting up. Maybe those blocks again are closer in, or the prop is a little closer into you. Right leg steps back. You can pause right here. Just taking a moment, taking it in, feeling your feet on the ground, not rushing into anything. You can slide your props forward 6 or 8 inches and begin to take your weight a little bit forward, tiptoeing the right toes in a little closer, feeling that energy dropping down and through the left leg down into the ground. And then feel this push away from the ground through that left foot as you start to rise the right leg up. Again, you can always keep your right toes on the ground. Maybe you play with a little balance. Notice if your chest is dropping down. See if you can lift up a bit. Notice the sensations. I notice a lot of sensation in my left leg. Can you just stay steady with your breath? Maybe you find a balance. I'm not feeling so steady on this side. I'm going to keep my hands on my blocks. And then slowly release that down. Right toes come down. Then you can hop that right foot forward and soften. And then we'll start to make our way right down to the ground. So you might take your hands to the floor. If you'd like to take a downward dog, you could walk your feet back and take this long opening of the back of your body. Or maybe you come to your hands and knees. You can find any little shifting movement here that feels good. And then easing down, maybe knees coming down and back into child's pose. Again, forehead could rest on your hands or on the ground, and you might again give this little rock, just a gentle rock of your head side to side, of massaging your forehead, smoothing out any tension there that might be caused by accumulation of thinking, planning, analyzing, worrying. Just reminding yourself you can keep coming back to your senses as an access to present moment awareness. paying attention to what's right here. And then starting to rise up, we'll make our way down onto our back. You can ease down, hug your knees in, maybe give a little rock from side to side. And you might stretch your legs up, circle your ankles a few times. Wiggle your toes. Maybe shake out your legs. You can reach your arms up and shake out your arms. And hug in. And then bringing your feet back down to the ground and arms down beside your hips. You might walk your feet a little bit. Again, making contact with the earth beneath you, the sense of grounding. And then feeling that sense of grounding, that rooting down into the earth, lifting your hips and rising up, lifting. And then exhale, slowly lowering. And again, inhaling. And exhale, lower. I'm doing this maybe 2 or 3 more times. And then once you come down this next time, perhaps walking your feet a little bit wider and then letting your knees rest against one another, creating a little tent of your legs, your lower legs. You might take your hands and rest them on your belly, just feeling the rising and falling of your breath. Perhaps sensing your heart beating. And again, notice if there's the presence of your thinking mind. We are so good at thinking. And we can remind ourselves to take a break from it every once in a while. Say, okay, thank you. Thank you for all of the hard work that you've done today. You can take a rest. And here, if there's anything else your body is asking for, any lost movements, stretches, fidgets, you can take just a little bit of time to do that, to take care of your body in whatever way you'd like to or need to. This might be a good opportunity to put on socks or another layer. Maybe there's gentle twist you'd like to do, of unwinding your spine a bit. And then you can set yourself up for your final relaxation pose however you'd like to. So it could be a traditional Shavasana, arms and legs extended, or maybe you'd like to add props. Maybe you'd like to support your body in some way. Maybe you want to take this next few minutes in your favorite restorative posture. So just taking this time to set yourself up, to get cozy. And taking the next few minutes to allow for a softening here. And if you'd like to stay right here a little longer, feel free to. And if you feel ready, you can start to begin to move a little bit, finding some small movements in your body, coming back into this awareness of the space around you, perhaps deepening your breath, maybe starting to blink your eyes a bit. And you might roll yourself gently over to one side. Pause right there. And when you're ready, you can come up to a seated posture. It might be helpful to rest your hands on your body in some way, maybe on your heart or your belly, just feeling the breath in that area. Don't you wish they would stop? All the thoughts swirling around in your head, bees in a hive, dancers tapping their way across the stage. I should rake the leaves under the carport. Buy Christmas lights. Was there really life on Mars? What will I cook for dinner? I walk up the driveway, put out the garbage bins. I should stop using plastic bags. Visit my friend whose husband just left her for the Swedish nanny. I wish I hadn't said Patrick's painting looked ominous. Maybe that's why he hasn't called. Does the car need oil again? There's a hole in the ozone the size of Texas, and everything seems to be speeding up. Come, let's stand by the window and look at the light in the field. Let's watch how the clouds cover the sun and almost nothing stirs in the grass. If you'd like to, you could bring hands together in front of your heart in a gesture of honoring our practice today, honoring our collective energy felt even through the screen, honoring the practices and teachings of yoga and mindfulness that we benefit from, that we carry into our day. And taking a deep, full breath in and a deep releasing breath out. Thank you for your practice today.